what I'm going to say first is legacy is financial. Teach them how to make your macaroni and cheese. That's fine. But
Right.
also teach them how to keep the money moving in the family so that you can become your own bank and you don't need the finances of others.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. And so, my guest is Dr. Darnyelle Jervey Harmon, or Dr. Harmon. And I want to, like, I know it's so funny. We're just catching up before we're recording. We met like
100
15
years
years
ago.
ago, a while,
A while
we were
ago.
both, yeah, we a while ago, right? We were both helping this other person who was speaking at an event. And then I've watched her kind of rocket up and like, boom, she's like the woman. So I'm really honored and excited to have you on the show, Darnyelle. So I'm saying it right,
Darnyelle.
Darnyelle. Okay, right.
Darnyelle.
And so so she is the founder. Let me give you a little bit of her bio, so I want you to know who you're listening to. So y'all need to get a pen and paper out. I'm telling you right now. And so she's the founder of and CEO of Incredible One Enterprises, an 8-figure Inc. 5,000 ranked business transformation firm headquartered in Newark, New Jersey. Your company debuted in 2009 at number 1,209, 2022, and then rose up from there, right? And so her background, we'll talk about this because what you'll find if you talk to people, success leaves clues. So, I mean, she was a 2-time sales executive. This is back in the day, Pink Cadillac with Mary Kay. And so, it's funny because when you look at successful people, if you start asking what's the first thing you do that you made money at, you'll start to see what I call the thread of success in their fabric of life, right? And so, what you want to listen to this because, winners win, and she's boiled down and distilled down principles that she's done, that she teaches to her students, that I'm excited for her to share them with you guys. Darnyelle, thank you. Well, thank you, and welcome to the Practical Wealth Show. And so tell them what I didn't tell them, and then let's get in and help these people.
Yeah. What I would say that you didn't say that I think is really important that people know about me in my work through my company, Incredible One Enterprises, we bridge the gap between spiritual principles and business growth strategies. So we really are a category creator in terms of the work that it is that we do. I believe that businesses that have a spiritual foundation go way farther faster. And I want to be very clear, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about having relationship and understanding how the universe works, how God created this abundant universe to move and bend at our command if we understand the principles and leverage those principles in the work that it is that we do. And so we take those principles, we combine it with winning business growth strategy, and we watch our clients grow businesses that serve them both financially and spiritually. And I'm excited to be here. And it's been a minute, so I'm excited to catch up at the same time.
Yeah, cool. So let me ask you this. That brings me to a question which I have no problem with, but I want to kind of get this out there. So you integrate spiritual principles into profit strategy. How do you do you ever find that you alienate people who come from different or no faith traditions?
I'm going to answer that question in 2 different ways. And
Okay.
the first part of it is that while my intention is not to alienate, I do know that some people will be offended, and I'm okay with that.
Yes.
The beauty of having my own company is that I get to determine the way that I want to run my company. And as for me and my company, we follow spiritual principles. And the people who are attracted to us are also interested in spiritual principles. Now, I do not just work with Christians, and we are not like, I don't speak any religion out as who can be our client. So we've had Buddhists, we've had atheists, we've had people who follow and leverage Kabbalah. We've had Jews. Literally people,
Right.
humans. I believe that we're all spiritual beings having a human experience and understanding how the universe works and how the work that we do every single day, especially as entrepreneurs, because most often we feel called to the
Right.
work that we do. I mean,
Right.
I think even the man who runs the dry cleaner felt called to help people make sure that they have clean clothes, right? So if we're all answering a calling, and we live in a country, specifically here in the United States, although I do have clients that are international, our politicians in every speech with God bless America and our money says, in God we trust. And
Right.
I've seen money from other countries that also says, in God we trust, in their language. And so we're not agnostic to God or the principles of God. And so pulling it together felt the most natural, the most holistic to me. And what I find is that I help people get in touch with a side of them that maybe they hadn't explored, because maybe they weren't raised in a family that had religious traditions or anything like that. So while we're not exclusionary, if you are offended by the work that it is that I do, it just means that I'm not the person to help you to get to seven figures. And I'm
That's right.
completely okay with that.
Yeah, because I mean, the purpose, you want to be able to put yourself out there, and the people that you resonate with will find you, right? And you go into
Absolutely.
business if your customer or client is everybody, is nobody, right?
Correct.
So you got to separate that out. So let me go back now, and because you shared, in my research openly that you because I like people you can't learn anything from nobody that hasn't had any setbacks.
Correct.
Okay. Because it's like getting set back and then clawing yourself back to the top. So, and so I want to say from bankruptcy to Inc. 5,000 is kind of the frame I want to frame this in. And so you openly shared that you filed for bankruptcy and then you rebuilt that. Because see, what happens is this, what's interesting about that, people's self-worth and net worth can be tied together, right?
Way too
And,
often.
way too. And so what happens is, to me, it says something that you can mentally crawl your way back out, because a lot of people would be in a fetal position, balled up, turning to alcohol, and you drove yourself back to the top. And so my question is, that was a setup, right? What mindset and tactical shifts bridge the gap, and how can other earners that feel they're stuck start their own turnaround?
Yeah. So before I even answer that question, Curtis, I want to say that I too had moments of fetal position. No alcohol. My parents were addicts, so I don't use any outside substances. But I definitely felt shame and felt embarrassed by getting myself into a situation where my financial illiteracy caused me to run up a lot of credit card debt that I could no longer rob Peter to pay Paul to handle, and to be put in a situation where the only answer was bankruptcy. Now, I do recognize today that bankruptcy is a strategy, right? There are many people who leverage the rule and the ability to file bankruptcy as a tactic to clear debt and to reorganize their business. And so it's not lost on me that that is a viable solution and alternative. Now, for me, it was the only way out, right? And that's why it happened. And in so doing, it was very embarrassing. And I promised I was never going to tell anyone that I had, in fact, filed bankruptcy. The way it came out was by mistake. And once it came out, what it did for other people is why I now talk about it openly.
Yeah.
If it hadn't have done what it did for people, you would know, because it would have never been said again before in life. But anyway, it was a defining moment for me. And so your question was, like, what was the mindset? So beyond the initial guilt and shame, I realized that failure is not failure. It's really feedback.
Yeah.
And so I had a decision to make. I could keep lamenting and not learn and become financially literate. And then if I did, I would probably find myself bankrupt again. I forget the statistic, but it is something ridiculous. Like, a large amount of people who file bankruptcy once use it consistently because they don't learn. But I chose to take the road less traveled, and I decided to learn about money and to become financially literate so that I would never have to experience it again. Within a year of filing bankruptcy, I was a net worth millionaire.
Wow.
Today, I have a portfolio that's over 8 figures. And I share that because I want people to understand that, bankruptcy is a strategy, but it is not an identity.
Right.
And so I made the decision that it's not who I am. It was a tool that I used at a season in my life where that was the only option for me at that particular point in time. And so I became financially literate. The bankruptcy trustee who discharged my bankruptcy required that I take a financial literacy course. Now, that could very well have been because I had $250,000 in credit card debt that he was discharging. And he probably said, if I don't help this girl, she's going to be back in my bankruptcy court and I don't ever want to see her again. I don't know. I don't even know if he told anybody else after me that they needed to go to a financial literacy course. But I do know that it was mandated for me in order for my bankruptcy to be discharged. And that was a defining moment. In that course, I learned about the practical side of money, which is, I'm sure, a lot of the things you teach your clients. And I learned about the energetics, the metaphysics, and the spirituality of money. And because I could really learn about that through a lens and based on the capacity that I had in my life at that time, I was 35 years old, I could begin to apply those strategies and make better decisions with money. I had a small stock portfolio at the time that included Microsoft in it that paid off really well, which contributed to the fact that I became a net worth millionaire the next year. I had a home that I did not lose in my bankruptcy. The trustee allowed me to keep my home as long as I kept making the payments. So the home, when I bought it, was worth about $250,000. At that particular point in time, with equity, that home was worth over $450,000. So between my stock portfolio and the 2 real estate properties that I was able to keep in my bankruptcy, I had assets that were greater than $1 million 1 year later after bankruptcy. Within 3 years of my bankruptcy, I had cash that was more than $1 million and a liquid asset as a result of it. And through the investments that I've made, the businesses that I've purchased over the years since, we've continued to multiply that by learning what money really is and deciding to not hold my parents accountable. I think that they did the best that they could, but they did not teach me about money. In my house, we were taught that you have to work hard for money. You rob Peter to pay Paul. Wealthy people have money and they're evil, and you are lucky just to get enough to get by, and you should be grateful for that. Ain't none of that the truth. I mean, I could not even
Right, none of it. That's right.
none of that is
Right.
true, but that is
None of that.
all what I was taught. And that flowered
Right.
how I saw money, how I saw myself, and why I ended up needing to file bankruptcy because I misused and mismanaged money. Because I now know what money is and how to have a respect-filled relationship with money and to understand the energetics associated with money. I know that money is available all the time and I can create money and opportunities to have more money whenever I want. But I didn't know that at 30 years old, at 35 years old, as I was accumulating all of that credit card debt. I was told that a credit card is layaway you get to take home. And I understood layaway as a girl born in the projects of Wilmington, Delaware. So that was my life. That was the way I showed up until I learned something different and began to apply the strategies that I was learning through my financial literacy course to take me on a different trajectory.
Okay, I love that. Like, because I want you to know there's hope. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. And I had to mention, say, a changed viewpoint can change your life.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And I think that you're in the business of changing viewpoints. Talk to me about the move. Is that have this right? Move to Millions framework?
Method. The Move to Millions method. Yep. That is our
Method. Okay.
proven framework and methodology that we use to help our clients position their business and ultimately get to and beyond the 7-figure mark. And so the methodology has 7 pillars in it: strategy, sales, systems, support, success mindset, soul, leadership, and self-care. And so through these pillars, we work with our clients to help them to work that each pillar has 10 levers. So we're looking at the levers in their business to make sure that they actually have an infrastructure upon which they can scale and ultimately sustain. Our goal is to get our clients to a minimum of $3 million a year in their business so that they can have $1 million that they take from their business for their lifestyle and their legacy. So that's our ultimate goal. And that's what we're working with our clients to accomplish.
I love that. I think that, would you say, I hate questions where I'm like framing driving you to it. I'm trying to ask this better, but um, one of the things I've found, I'm a big Rich Dad fan, but that there's two sides of money. If you look at cash flow quadrants, there's the ES, employee, self-employed, and the business owner investor. And our tax code is designed for the people on the right, the business owner investor.
Right.
And I would say that if you don't have a business, you're not even really in the game. I mean, you can
I would
be
agree
in the
with that.
game. And but all wealth is a product of systems. That's why I like your, so if you look at the business, there's 7-8 levers to pull. What
Yeah.
would you say, just staying in that vein, maybe I know there's 7, like your top 1 or 2, because I want them to call
Yeah,
you.
I think the 3 that are most important are, in terms of like just straight business, right? I think having a very clear strategy is
Mm-hmm.
important. Having a sales infrastructure, right? Nothing happens until somebody sells something. So you've
Come on
got
now.
to have a
Okay.
mechanism in place. You've got to solve a problem that people are willing to put a dime on to get a solution to. And then I think the third one that is incredibly important is systems. Systems are what make your success predictable, right? And if you want to scale, I think scaling is misused and misunderstood in the market. I define scaling as the act of multiplying, duplicating, and replicating a series of systems and strategies in order to increase revenue and results. Most people are trying to scale when they don't have anything to scale. So you can't scale until you have a foundation and a proven process in place that runs a strategy, drives a sale, and creates revenue. Once you have that and you've systematized it, then you could be in position where you're now ready to actually scale your business. But I would say those 3 on the external are the most important. And then on the internal, you've got to do the soul leadership work. You've got to become a better version of yourself, because your ability to get to 7 figures and beyond is going to be driven largely by who you are and who you become in the process. And so if you're unwilling to do the work to stretch the limits of your own mental capacity and the way you see yourself, that is going to impact your ability to generate at a level that allows you to get there.
Yes, because you can't outgrow what you are. Like you have to. I was telling my wife, I says every quarter I try to get better. I want to be better than my former self. And I think a lot of times, I would say, not that your target is African Americans, but professionals that we know, they don't, after they get out of school, they don't work on I'm an old basketball player, so they don't work on their game.
Yeah.
Their mental toughness, their leadership skills. Do you have like I know you do, but a morning routine or a process of like you want them to work on their personal development? What are some of your favorite things?
Yeah, so I'm not really into routines and
Okay.
rituals, because then I think you're checking it off and you miss the magic of the alignment of doing it. But there are certain things I do think that you should do on whatever consistent basis works for you. So like personally, when I get up in the morning before my feet even hit the floor, I say my prayers, I express gratitude, and I set an intention for my day. I
Mm-hmm.
think that what you speak about, you'll bring about. And so if I hit the ground running, then that means I'm going to be
Mm-hmm.
running and hurrying through my day all day. I take my time, I get up with intention. Like, so that's really, really important to me. The very first thing I do after that is I move my body. Like I exercise, I work my heart. That is important to me. And then
Right.
then I start to think about the things of the day. I do not sleep with my cell phone in my bedroom. And I do that for a myriad of reasons. I got an old school alarm clock instead of using my cell phone as an alarm clock, because I don't want anybody else to barge into the most important time in my day. The first 20 minutes after you wake up is so important. And if you are not careful, you will end up going through someone else's day than the one that you set the intention for. And so I make sure that I get to set purpose and intention for my day in the way that works best for me before I'm bombarded with everybody else who's trying to get a hold of me. And whenever I get to my phone, every single time, invariably, I've got text messages and missed calls and all the things, because I don't rush to my cell phone in the morning. It might be 10
Right.
a.m. before I get to my cell phone, because my life
That's
does
a
not
bar
hinge
right
on
there,
my phone.
guys. That's a bar. Like you don't let your cell phone run your life
No,
and
absolutely
respond. A lot of
not.
times I put on do not disturb, And I used to be that way, but I don't feel like if there's an email or somebody calls me, I have to answer it when it rings, And now I try to do is give stuff to my assistant. So if she manages my calendar, she'll call you because I only want to focus. I want to be intentional about what I do. That is brilliant. I want to go back to something you said earlier. So talk to me about, selling. I found one time I did I taught a class down for SCORE, and I had it was called 7 Steps to More Sales and Profits, right? And so it was an audience of about 300 people there, and I said, this is probably about 15 years ago. I said, how many of y'all? This is entrepreneurs now, right? How many of y'all like sales? Do you know?
Everybody, nobody's hand went up. No one
maybe 10 or 15 of a room of would be. I said, what do you think you do?
Right.
What do you think your most important job is?
Yeah.
And you're all salespeople. I mean, look, if you've been on a date, you sold, right? So
right, exactly. We sell every day. Life is a transaction, and every day we're selling. And you have to, like, most people, the reason they don't like sales is because they don't want to be pushy or they don't want to bother people or all of the excuses that we make. But I believe it's as honorable to sell as it is to buy. And so we have got to put some respect on the sales process, because as business owners, we don't even have a business if nobody's buying, right? Like, profit is how we keep score, and you can't get to profit if you're not first selling. Now, while you cannot spend sales, you can only spend revenue. You do need to have a sale initiate in order to get to the point for all of that revenue to come in whatever time frame you decide you're going to allow your clients to be able to pay you over. But yeah, I'm not surprised by that, because I think most people feel that way. I see it all the time amongst my clients. And what I try to help people do is to realize is that first and foremost, sales is just service. Like, how dare you have the solution to someone's problem and keep it to yourself? That's selfish.
Yep.
And if you take the time to listen, you don't even have to sell. Right. You just have to hear a person telling you what their most urgent need is right now. And if you can present a solution to that need, you can win the opportunity to solve their problem.
Which is what sales is, helping people make a future. I told them, I said, let me help y'all. I said, because you think, and so if they got to get over that hump or they'll always stay stuck, you think you're trying to talk people into doing something or buying something they don't want or need. And that's their vision of it. And then I got this definition from Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. He says, which helped me a lot. I didn't really never had a problem with it anyway, but the what did he say? He says sales is helping people make a future decision that is good for them. Helping them, and then through educational based selling, helping them justify the logic to justify what they did. But ultimately, if you're a good person, if your thing is good, then you're selfish for not leading them to that decision that will ultimately increase their outcome. So I love that you say that. And I wanted to hear somebody tell them, all right, listen, y'all got to get good at sales. There's nothing wrong with sales. And
sales is not a dirty word.
Not a dirty word.
And nothing happens. I mean, that's a Mary Kay Ash quote. Nothing happens until somebody sells something.
Do you know, this is totally aside, you heard of what's his name? Oh, he's got a book. What is his name? It's a brother that is my favorite entrepreneur. Fuller, A.B. Fuller.
Okay.
Does that ring a bell? A.B. Fuller was like the original. He one time he said he used to do these so I do a Saturday training for my clients it was inspired by him doing this once a month gospel of entrepreneurship or something back in the 50s. And he said, see that white girl up there in the stands? She's going to outsell all of y'all. She's going to outproduce all of y'all. And he was talking about Mary Kay Ash, who used to come to his meetings. So that's what made me think about that. Because that was, you want to go as a leader where the information is that can help you be better at servicing your people. And I find that a lot of that is a good start for people. You can start and, hone your skills in those type of organizations without having to come up with, tens of thousands of dollars to buy a franchise. But if you treat it like that, you can kind of make that kind of money, or at least I learned my chops at 20 in, couple different network marketing companies that are responsible for most of the skills I use today to make money. I learned in my 20s through I don't want to name the companies, but a few. Not that many. Actually, really only two, because I was the type that would stick with something. I didn't jump around from thing to thing to thing. My dad, I grew up, we owned a supermarket. He says, listen, you got to give your efforts time to compound. So stop jumping around from things. He always told me never make any money work for somebody else. So I never got that go get a good job talk,
Right.
So I was weird but blessed. Yeah. So let's talk about women, minority, and wealth creation.
Okay.
And fast growth. No, I'm sorry. Are there any? I don't know if there are, but I want you to know you're feeling systematic roadblocks. If they are, what did you face, and what practical advice could you give to other represented founders and about navigating any barriers to your success because of who you are, women or minority? Did you see that? Do you notice that?
I don't notice it. I think it is a thing, though.
I like that answer because I kind of say the same thing. It might be out there, but I didn't notice it.
I think it's a thing. I think people that are impacted by it. The best way I can describe this, Curtis, is to quote the Bible. Like, I am in the world, not of the world. And so, so for a lot of things, like for instance, at the time of the recording of this episode is 2025. People are losing their minds. There's a lot of uncertainty. Lots of things are in disarray. There are lots of distractions. I mean, people are legitimately losing millions of dollars through government contracts, through DEI, like all kinds of things are happening in the world.
Right.
And Darnyelle has decided that she's not impacted by that. So while I don't want to be flippant and act like it's not a thing, because I know people that are grossly impacted by that, I think most things are mental before they are material.
Yeah.
And I've always believed in a client diversification strategy. All my eggs have never been in one basket. I do have government contracts. I do have corporate clients. I do have small business owner clients. I do have consumer clients. Like, I've never been playing only in one sandbox, so that if one sandbox becomes off limits, my whole business folds. Like, that's never been my thing. And so, yes, I know that for some people, it is a whole thing that as a woman of color, as a Black person, we can look at the statistics, some ridiculous low percentage, like, is it like 4% or less, I think, get access to capital. I built my business bootstrapping, as they call it, and to get to the self where I had enough capital to self-invest before I was able to actually get loans to be able to scale and grow my company. And because I know and understand business, and I don't rely on any one thing to work for me, and I know that I have the ability through my gifts and talents and my network to create the things that I most want and desire, I do that. And so I think it's, again, I will say, business growth, having a 7-figure company, an 8-figure company, it's going to be mental before it's material.
Yes.
And so the way you look at things is going to determine the things that you look at. And you can decide to be of the world, or you can decide to be in the world. And if you are in the world, then you are going to have to succumb to the things that are happening in the world. I mean, I am here, but at the same time, I am unbothered, if that makes sense. And it might sound crazy or naive as people are listening, but it is a strategy that works really, really well for me. Like, in times like this, the economy that we are in right now, multi-million-dollar companies will be born.
Yes.
Because they will choose not to succumb to what's happening around them. They will go over or under instead of trying to go through what is going on right now. And other people will be attempting to go through and get stopped at every turn. And it'll be the reason why their businesses go under. You literally get to decide. Now, in order to make this decision, you may have to align yourself with coaches or mentors or consultants, people who think at a level that is greater than you are able to think, to help you to operate from your vision point and not your vantage point. But it is literally a decision that we all get to make, and you get to decide whether or not that is going to be the story that is your business. And I know it might sound hokey, but it's what I believe, and it's what I see happen every single day.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't sound hokey to me at all. And see,
Okay, good.
so and guys, as you listen to winners, you'll hear that. Like I have a screenshot of a Jim Rohn quote that this year has reminded me of that. He says, "Listen, the winds of adversity blow on us all, but the difference is how you set the sail, right?" As
That's
a
good.
so I work. I think our job as leaders is to learn how to set a better sail, because that's the only thing that you
Hmm.
control. So, because you can't
Right.
control the economy, you
You
control
can.
your personal economy, which is your production consumption as a family unit or as a business unit. I go back to people in the contracts. I One is the worst word in business. So that from
Mhm.
Dan Kennedy. So if you got one industry, one big client, I've seen people that just had that, they were doing good and boom, one
Yeah.
cancellation of a contract, and you have to spread the ball around. I call it, like, you need to have
Yeah.
one job is risky because you get fired for one or two reasons, any reason or no reason at all. Same thing
Yeah.
as a consultant. So you have to spread it around. And I'm so glad you shared that with them, is how you think. See, most people don't want to hear the attitude stuff, but that's the game. That's
Yeah, it
the
is.
that's that you want tactics, and so we'll get a little tactical. I think it's been tactical the whole thing, through the whole interview today. So I'm standing up. I'm fired up.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, it's not strategy. Like, every strategy that everybody is using is a strategy that works. All the
Yeah,
strategies work.
yeah,
So if it's not strategy and you're not where you desire to be, it's got to be something else. And I think you should look at your mindset first, right? I believe 95% of your success is tied to the 6 inches in between your ears.
yep,
And
yep.
so you get to decide all the things. And in making those decisions, that will inform the strategy and how the strategy plays out for you. You can be a victim at any point in time, or you can decide to rise above it and be a victor. You get to decide. And there's no right or wrong answer, but you just have to live with whatever decision it is that you make at the particular time that you make it.
Yes. Let's talk about $1 million mistakes. Which
Mhm.
expensive mistake, or stakes plural, you think taught you the most about growth,
Gosh.
scaling, and how can listeners maybe sidestep some of those potholes?
Yeah, I love this question. And when you said it, like, three mistakes immediately came flooding in. A few years ago, I was doing something new in my business, and I ran an old strategy. Like, I did something that was like the back of my hand. I knew to do it, and it didn't work. It didn't yield the result. And what I realized at that point in time, it was a mistake that cost me a lot of money, because I wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the market and how my ideal client had changed at that particular point in time. And so what I realized from that is, and this is, going to be great lesson for anybody who's out there, before you employ any strategy. Now, first we have to understand that it can take up to 90 days for you to see the effectiveness of a strategy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? But before you employ any strategy, you want to make sure that you have done your primary and secondary market research for the benefactor of the strategy. So whoever is going to benefit the most from what it is that you're looking to do, you need to make sure that you're checking in with them to see if this is even something that they want, or are they even aware that they want it. I think the big mistake we made is we put together something that we thought would be good without validating from our audience that it's what they actually wanted. And we heard crickets instead of cash registers. So that was really, really
So doing what you want to do, not
doing
what the
what I
market
wanted to
wants.
do, not what the
Mm-hmm.
market said I needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I think another big mistake, well, not I think, I know, I have the receipts to prove it. Another big mistake that I've made over the years is not doing my due diligence on service providers.
Hmm.
I think that it can be very easy through someone's marketing and even what they say during a sales conversation to believe that they can get you a result that they can't really control that they can get. Like, without putting all of my business in the street, I'm trying to come up with an example. Like, I'm going to make something up. So let's say you go to hire a consultant who says that they can help you to get on the Inc. 5000. Let's just use that as an example. They
Right.
can help you get on the Inc.
Right.
5000. Now, to get on the Inc. 5000, your business needs to do at least $2 million in the year that you apply, and it had to have done at least $100,000 3 years before, because they're taking a 3-year average span of your growth. The people who have the most growth over that 3-year span are going to be the ones that are listed out of the 5,000, right? Like both of the years that we did, and I only applied to the Inc. 5000 2 years, I could still technically be on the Inc. 5000. But for me, like, I don't need to keep getting that credential. I know I run a multiple 7-figure and now 8-figure business. I don't need to keep applying and paying Inc. money.
It doesn't mean you drop off. Like a lot of people don't know, you got to get on those things. You got to kind of,
Yeah, I
reach
mean,
out
I
to
did
it.
it twice because I wanted to demonstrate the consistency, that we were not a fluke, that we
Yeah.
did it, but I didn't see the point to keep paying. I mean, it
Right.
it cost
Right.
$500 plus
Just
all
keep
the other things.
money, make money,
Yeah,
save
I could
money,
use it.
serve clients.
Right.
It'll get out there. Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
And I could
I
do
love that.
something else with that $2,000 or $2,500 that I would spend on the Inc. 5000 thing. I could use that for something
Right.
else, for marketing, if nothing else, right? But let's
Yeah.
say you have a consultant who's selling you, oh, yeah, we can help your company get on the Inc. 5000. We can, and maybe they even use, we guarantee that you're going to get this result and you're going to get on the Inc. 5000. And not just taking them at their word, especially for a done for you service. Because one thing that I forgot, now this was years ago that I happened, but it's blaring to me because it was a large financial mistake that I made. And the thing is, none of us have what's the word? A ball, like, what's the thing called? Like,
Crystal
none of us
ball.
have
Crystal
that
ball.
little
Crystal.
crystal ball, right? A
Yeah.
crystal ball where we can determine when anybody is going to do anything.
Right.
And so, like, I was young and naive in my business and didn't realize that I was being sold something that they couldn't even guarantee. But because they marketed, like, and I think Seth Godin says it best in his book, All Marketers Are Liars, right? He marketed himself this way, and I bought in based on all the things that I saw that this would actually produce the result that I want. But the fact of the matter is, as I look at it in hindsight many years later, he couldn't even guarantee that he could produce that result. But I paid him whatever. I paid him
Right.
$60,000, $70,000, $100,000 to do something that he couldn't even guarantee. And I think for me, I was a young business person. I would never do that today because I'm so much more wise. But at that particular point in time, I think entrepreneurs and small business owners, they want to achieve a result so bad. And in desperation, they make calls and decisions that are demonstrating that they don't understand the process, and they're relying on someone else to do what they need to know and understand about their business. That's a huge mistake I see people.
Yes, 1,000%. I had a comment, but I want you to do the third one because I want
Yeah.
to break your momentum.
Yeah. And then the third one, I think for me, has just been the times when I've doubted myself. And because I doubted myself, I didn't make the investment that I should have. Like, I had an opportunity a few years ago to make an investment in a company, and it was a startup company and I will not tell you the name because y'all are not going to judge me, but it was a startup company that hit big. But for fear at that particular point in time, I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And the saying goes, scared money doesn't make money.
Yeah.
And I was afraid, and I said no. And within 2 years, what that company has done would make me, I would have another 8 figures if I had have invested in this company. And the crazy thing that I think about now, Curtis, is that the investment to me would have only been $50,000. It would have paid a 5,000% return.
Ouch.
In 3 years.
Mm-mm.
And I kick myself often because I let fear make an executive decision in my company instead of making a decision that I did. Like, I did my research and due diligence and all the facts were there, and I still let fear stop me from doing it. Maybe because it was 50,000. I don't know. I can't tell you today. It was a few years ago, but I kick myself often for letting a fear-based decision make an executive decision for me and my livelihood. And so I tell everyone now, don't let fear, like, feel the fear, but don't let it make decisions.
Right. Right.
Investigate the fear. Where is it coming from? But don't let it make executive decisions. And so I will not ever make a decision or not make a decision when fear's there. I now think fear is an indication that your next level is present. And when I feel fear, that tells me that I need to make the investment or do the thing that I am most fearing, because what I desire is on the other side of that fear.
Because wealth or success lies outside of your comfort zone. So you have
Correct.
to be uncomfortable to do that. Those are major. Like I hopefully I'll replay this and write those out, because there's so many writer downloads. Guys, you're gonna listen to this thing more than once. This audio. I was thinking when you said that, I think I find a lot of people, when you're looking at alternative investments or investing in even in your business, well, two things. I find people look for these outside consultants to sprinkle magic pixie dust, and you're just going to ultimately, whatever. And most of it, like, here's what I've come to. For a lot of this stuff, it's not what I don't know, it's what I'm not doing, right? With what I already know.
Right.
And so rather than throwing 25 grand at this person or whatever, I should hunker down on what I know. I still believe in, I was working with my coach who says, you've probably spent over 100, 150,000 in the last 10 years on getting to, like, our goal is to be the top, the holistic number one holistic financial advisor firm in the financial alternative, like a principles-based planning firm in North America, right? So, but I've invested in making sure I can solve people's problems. And one of the things I try to teach is, listen, you are your best advisor. Don't look for some fund manager you never met to make you rich. How would you do due diligence? Like, maybe a couple of points on thinking about that, because I find people don't know how to do due diligence. And I got a follow-up question, but I just a short answer on, when you're looking at stuff, how do you kind of, all right, is this person for real? Is this what I really need? Do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to talk to people that have had experience. If you ask somebody that you're thinking about investing in, can I talk to a couple of your current or previous clients about their experience, and they say no, then that's an indication that you should run. I wouldn't take any testimonial or case study that's on somebody's website that they wrote. I wouldn't take it at face value, because you can write anything.
Right.
I could make any situation with any client look amazing. But guess what? Anybody who's on my website, I can also give you their information for you to reach out to them. And you can hear it from them what the difference was. I think that, and I think the other thing is, don't be so desperate. Like, because when you are desperate, and I get it, it's not working and all you want is for it to work and it's got to work and this is your last and all of that. That is the wrong energy to make investment decisions in.
For sure.
They say, don't make decisions when you are hungry, angry, tired. Like, don't make decisions when you are feeling any of those things. And so do your due diligence, sleep on it. Like, even when there's an incentive to make the decision right now, if it's not an unequivocal yes, then forfeit the incentive. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not a 100% yes for me, I'm not saying yes, period. So, and I'm going to take my time to make the decision. And we have to be more discerning. I think if COVID-19 in the marketplace, the growth market we were in during COVID, taught us anything, there were a lot of people who just popped out of nowhere spouting expertise to do things that many people gave their money to, and they could have had a V8. Some of y'all will get that reference if you're old enough, right? But like, there are a lot of that happen. And in the market we're in now, this trust economy, people are taking their time to make decisions, which is what they should be doing all along, is taking their time to make decisions. So
yes. Let me ask you, this is personal consulting for Curtis. You said something, because I've met you and I've seen 8 figures, and I'm doing good, but I'm not there. One of the things you said is that so you had a primary business that generated revenue, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've acquired, bought, and started additional companies to be part of your ecosystem.
So I've purchased businesses. I haven't started any other companies.
I love that, because buying is the new starting. I love that, because we don't think about buying stuff. Walk me through that.
Yeah, so I mean, when I named my company Incredible One Enterprises, it was always because I intended to have multiple entities in my umbrella, right? Like, so IOE is not a holding company per se. I have another company that is my holding company.
Hmm.
But I want to have businesses that I don't have to work in that I can make money from. So I bought some laundromats. I'm not folding clothes at the laundromat. I'm not standing there checking people in, but I am making money from my laundromats, right? So I think for me, it's important. I now understand, as wealthy people understand, that wealthy people see money as a vehicle to make them more money. And so, because I know I don't have to effort for money, I don't have to work to make my money, I look for vehicles that allow me to make money without having to work. And so I do the business that I run primarily, Incredible One Enterprises, my business transformation company. It is my divine calling and purpose in life. I do this work because I love it. I get paid well to do it, but this is work that I love, that I would be doing no matter what, because I love it. I have other businesses that I wanted to own and have a stake in that I did not want to have to work in every single day. I own a spa. I can't give anybody a facial or a massage, but I
Right.
own
Right.
my own business that provides those services, right? So I think for me, wealth is about finding ways to make your money make you money. I own real estate, right? I'm not the property uh manager for my
Manager. Hmm.
portfolio, but I
Hmm.
have real estate that I own that is making me money. And in addition to the house that I live in and the house that I work in, I have other properties that are cash flowing for me to help me to be able to not work. Like, if I decided tomorrow that I did not want to run this company anymore, I would not be looking for a job because I'm an
Right.
owner,
Right. Not
right?
a
And most
not
people who
you're a
are
business
owners
owner.
are
You're not
self-employed.
self-employed.
Right. Most
Right.
people are
Right.
self-employed.
Right.
I'm not self-employed. I'm a business owner.
They own a job. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that because I don't think enough. Do you think enough entrepreneurs think
No, I don't
like
think
that?
enough
They
people,
could.
no, and I
Yeah.
don't even think enough are in position to do that. Because let's just look at the statistics for a moment. Like, less than, depending upon who you're getting your data from, less than 15% of businesses make six figures, and I'm talking about $100,000 a year. 4% make seven figures. So there's not enough out of 35 million businesses in the United States. There's not enough businesses that are, even the vast majority of the people that we know and we interact and we see online, they're not
Right.
making the money that even they lie and claim about on their social media. Most
Right.
people aren't. Like, the statistics wouldn't be what they are. So
Right.
if your business is only generating $200,000 or $300,000 a year, by the time you set aside whatever is being set aside for taxes, because while you shouldn't be paying taxes twice, you are at least going to pay taxes personally if you have the right legal entity. If you have a small team, one or two people that you're paying a decent wage, if they're working for you full time, $50,000, $60,000 a year, that's $120,000 right there. You hopefully are paying yourself at least $100,000 a year. Now you're at $220,000 a year. There's only 80,000 left over to business and to pay taxes. That's not enough to think about mergers and acquisitions.
Come on now. Yes.
So it's not enough. Like, it's small business poverty in a lot of ways, and the only way to get out of it is to get all of the systems and infrastructure in place that allows you to get your business up over seven figures. And even at seven figures, there are those, I am those, who believe that a seven-figure business, it's the floor, it's not the ceiling, because even at seven figures, it's not a lot depending upon how big your team, like how much is going out. If you're spending 30% on payroll, that's $300,000 out the door right there. If you have contractors that are not on payroll, and contractors are invariably more expensive to your business than employees, even though you got to pay employment benefits, that could be another $100 to $200 a year depending upon the contractors. You're at $500,000 right there. You haven't even paid yourself yet, really, or
Right.
maybe
See,
part of that
nobody does that money
payroll.
math. That's so
Yeah,
oh
like,
my
you
God, I'm
just
so glad you
haven't.
brought that up.
And
Yes.
then, right, and then you want to have cash reserves. So if you're running a 7-figure business and it costs you $500,000 to run your business, you need at least 3 to 6. I mean, I want you to have 12 months worth of business operating expenses available in a high interest savings account or something that you could get to quickly if you needed to, a CD with a term that you could get to quickly. Like, so that means you need another $500,000 somewhere that you would be able to pull on if clients back out, a government contract gets canceled, or something like the things that are happening right now. Like, most businesses are really not even set up and established to withstand because they're not generating enough. They're underpriced.
Yes.
Right? So they're not charging enough to experience 60 to 80% profit margins on their service. And that is impacting their ability to be able to create cash reserves so that they can hire the team, which is why they're self-employed, which is why they're every department, because they cannot afford to go out and bring in the people that would allow them to actually focus on strategically presiding over their business and getting their business to the next level. That's where most people go wrong. And, you know, we see it all the time. We have clients who come in, they work with us, you know, for a year or whatever, and then they decide that, oh, they can figure it out on their own. And so they step away. We get people to 7 figures. We've gotten 77 people to 7 figures since 2021. They're like, well, I did it. I made it. And we tell them, no, it's
That's
not one 7
right.
figures.
That's
we
right.
want to get you to at least 3, but they think they know better. Oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to implement everything you've taught me. But when you get out of the community, when you get out of the energy that is the abundance, you fall back into the patterns that got you there in the first place. But nobody wants to understand that. And they step away from the energy that has been producing what they want for fear. Like, I don't think we should ever make decisions because of the money. We should make decision based on the vision, because the money can always show up. The fastest thing to change in a business at any point in time is the money that's coming in. It's the easiest thing to change. But people scared money doesn't make money. They let the money or lack thereof make decisions for them. And that keeps them from going to their next level. I could talk about this all day.
We got to come back, right? Because I talk about this all day too. So let me conclude with like legacy in motion, and then I want to tell them how to reach out to you. I want you to tell them how to reach out to you. So do you have things, millions are your birthright? Or is that, I have that mixed up with somebody else? But
no, I believe millions are your birthright, and I believe that if you didn't come from millions, millions should come from you.
Yes, that one right there. And so, how do you define legacy beyond money, and what action should every entrepreneur take to cement that legacy for their family and community?
Yeah, I like this question, but what I'm going to say first is legacy is financial.
Yes,
that's what I'm going to say first, right?
Yep.
So when you think about the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts probably passed down recipes and leadership lessons, but the Rockefellers passed down wealth and wealth strategy, and that's why they're still the wealthiest family, and the Vanderbilts are probably working wherever they're working. But they're working. Their money's not working for them.
Money, right? They haven't had a millionaire since like the 70s.
Yeah.
So
legacy is financial. Sure, I want you to pass down your recipes. Yes, I want you to tell them the stories and help them to learn the lessons.
This is a financial show, so that's okay, because that's
right. Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, I want you to pass down the leadership lessons. I want you to teach people to walk with their head held high and know where they came from. Because yes, those stories need to be passed down too. But what I'd love for us to do is to give the next generation a leg up, instead of debt to get buried out from under. That's what I'd like us to do. I'd like us to teach the next generation, don't sell the house when grandma dies. Keep the house in the family.
Right.
Like, that's what I'd like for us to tell people to do. Don't think about the quick payday. Think about the sustenance of what that home and continuing to own that home to do, because you can always borrow against it.
Right.
If you need to, but if you sell it, you only sell it once, and once the money's gone, which is going to be gone fast,
because most people
don't understand how to sustain the money. It's over.
I've had, one of the foundations of wealth is insurance, and so we teach, principles-based planning. But maximum protection is one of the pillars of my 5 steps to financial. And I paid I can think of 5 different claims that were anywhere from $250,000 to almost $1 million. And I helped them get the money. Then they ghosted me, right? And so all of that money within less than 3 years,
Yeah.
gone.
I mean, yeah, the average legacy, like the generation, like it literally, it's 3 years. Like it doesn't last because we're not teaching people about money
Right.
and financial legacy. Like that's the legacy we need to pass down. Sure.
That's our
Teach
mission.
them,
That's my
teach
mission. That's
them,
what I
right.
feel is
Teach
my
them your
legacy is that. Yeah.
correct. Teach them how to make your macaroni and cheese. That's fine. But
Right.
also teach them how to keep the money moving in the family so that you can become your own bank and you don't need the finances of others.
There you go. That's actually
Yeah.
what I teach, how to be your own banker.
Yeah.
So tell them, this is fire today. I just want you to know. So tell them, how should they, because y'all need to reach out to her, and when she does a program, you need to be there. So tell them what you got going on. How should they follow you, connect with you? What would be the best ways to do that? Because, they're definitely, you need to be in their ear
Absolutely.
daily, weekly.
Yeah, if you enjoyed this conversation today and you enjoyed this interview, I invite you to go to movetomillionsgifts.com. It's a page where I'll give you an opportunity to opt in with some basic information. And in exchange, I have a bundle of gifts that I want to share with you that just allows you to come a little bit deeper into my world and learn about what it is that I do. You can learn about my best-selling book, Move to Millions, the proven framework to become $1 million CEO with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. And you can learn how to follow me on all the social media outlets. Go to movetomillionsgifts.com.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes. And guys, like I said, this is something you need to listen to or watch if you're seeing this on YouTube more than once. Listen to it, then go back and listen to it with your pen out and a notepad, because I think this was a powerful episode. Darnyelle, this has been a pleasure. It's been too long since I talked to you. I didn't hear it. I'm fired up. Okay. And so any I'm gonna give you the last word before we close out. Any words of pearls of wisdom you want to share as we close out? I think you shared them a lot. I know you had all of them because you're full.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that if you are an entrepreneur or a small business owner that is listening to this episode, and you know deep down inside somewhere that you are meant for millions, then I invite you to reach out so you can learn about the programs that we offer to be able to support you to get your business to and beyond 7 figures. Since 2021, we've helped 77 clients experience their first or next 7 figures through working with us through our framework and methodology. I have my own podcast, the Move to Millions podcast. I wrote the best-selling book, Move to Millions. The opportunities are out there for you to learn and how to get into the power of proximity with me to be able to shift and change your business. We do it all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. There's no one like us in the marketplace. We are the best who ever did it. And I highly recommend that if you want to get your business to 7 figures, you holler at your girl. Thank you.
There you go. Guys, save this, listen to this. I thank you again for joining us. This has been a powerful episode. One of my favorites. So like the last couple of years. So I'm excited. So my listeners, long time listeners, tell me I get hype or I can't talk because my mind is exploding. I can't think of the next question. The people that listen to me know my mind is about to explode right now. So thanks for listening, guys. Go out there and make it a prosperous day. Definitely holler at your girl, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to another episode of A Practical Wealth Show. If you like it, leave us a review and share this because this is powerful stuff. Thanks, guys.